So we're looking at the broader Middle East right here, and we're going to go ahead and zoom in on Iraq, specifically this little red bomb that is surrounded by a yellow outline. And this is where a barrage of at least a dozen missiles targeted the Ain al-Assad Air Base, or just al-Assad Air Base as we used to call it, where U.S. troops are stationed in the Anbar province of Iraq on Saturday. So earlier today this took place. These reports were confirmed by various sources. An Iraqi police official said that out of 15 rockets launched, 13 were intercepted by U.S. air defenses while 2 hit the base. An anonymous U.S. defense official acknowledged the missile impacts on al-Assad Air Base and mentioned that damage assessments were in progress. Now, the attack resulted in at least one severe injury among the Iraqi security forces, and possibly 2 service members from the U.S. were, quote, slightly injured due to traumatic brain injury. Now, the Islamic Resistance in Iraq, which is an amalgam of Iraqi militia groups with backing from Iran, has taken responsibility for this attack. They claim to have launched a, quote, missile barrage at al-Assad and expressed their intent to continue targeting what they perceive as enemy positions. Sabreen News, which is associated with Iran and their Iranian-backed militias, alleged that the attack caused casualties among U.S. troops and refuted any claims of injuries to Iraqi security personnel. Now, since October 17th, U.S. interests in Iraq and Syria have been subjected to approximately 140 drone and rocket assaults, primarily conducted by Iranian-backed Iraqi militias opposing America's support for Israel in the conflict in Gaza. The Islamic Resistance in Iraq has been responsible for most of these attacks. Recently, this group claimed to have conducted a drone strike against a base that is used by U.S.-led coalition forces that are fighting ISIS near Erbil, and Erbil is actually up here near Mosul, so it's right in this region right here. And this yellow section is actually Iraqi Kurdistan, whereas the red is Iraq. So this is an autonomous area, but it's still part of Iraq. And it was actually Iraqi Kurdistan forces that intercepted the drone strike on Erbil. Now, this strike that is on al-Assad Air Base, right here again, occurred shortly after an Israeli attack on Damascus, Syria, which reportedly resulted in the deaths of 5 military advisors from Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Now, we'll see what the U.S. response to this is, and there's more information still to come. They're doing a damage assessment, etc. But for me personally, I'm just wondering when the U.S. is going to start stacking some terrorist and Iranian bodies en masse, because this, quote, worry about escalation, unquote, is 100% nonsense coming out of the U.S. Iran has struck Iraq, they have struck Syria, and now they have struck Pakistan. The Houthis, Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Islamic Resistance, all objectively terrible terrorist groups that we previously recognized as terrorist groups, are all Iranian proxies. And they have struck innocent civilians across the region. They have attacked civilian shipping in the region. They've attacked Israel, attacked Lebanon, attacked Syria, attacked Iraq. And I have to start to think that Iran's boldness is either a product of Iran having actually developed a nuclear weapon, and they have one in their possession and we just don't know it. I mean, that makes kind of sense because they had the fissile material and they watched as we let Russia do whatever it wants in Ukraine, and our administration quaked in its boots about, quote, escalations. So why not Iran? Why wouldn't they do it if they have that capability? Or alternatively, they just see the backing of Russia and what is becoming a largely effete Biden administration being driven by idiots in America that support Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis as carte blanche to do whatever in this region. CENTCOM commanders, as well as commanders from other countries, including the UK, are begging to handle this situation. They have the plans to destroy pre-targeted facilities across the region. What is it going to take? Are commanders in this area going to have to write a letter expressing their sorrow of a U.S. service member that died and we did nothing to the source of these attacks? And we know who the source is. It is Iran. And when we don't respond to Russia's aggression into Ukraine with strength, and when we don't respond to Iran's proxies and their attacks in the Middle East with strength, it causes other belligerents in the world to think, maybe I can start getting froggy a bit out here and start doing things. Looking at you, China, that's specifically why we need to exude strength in these situations and not waffle about and become pathetic with our worries of escalation. We're the most powerful military in the history of the world, and we're doing basically nothing.